That's the motor that's needed. Okay, in some ways I'm kind of surprised it's so big. It was a cheap motor, I guess. Is there a set of anything in here which tells me just what parts I've got, or am I left just to guess it myself? Yeah. I didn't know they did that. Oh yeah, I probably did. What they do provide apparently in here is a gate for when you operate the transmitter. One of the sticks, throttle is on one side, steering is usually on the other. Actually, that's not true. That depends on how you want to use the remote control. There is what they call modes: mode 1, mode 2, mode 3 and mode 4. Modes 1 and 2 are left and right hand versions of the same thing, and modes 3 and 4 are left and right versions of the same thing. And the difference between them, if you're flying an aircraft, then the difference between them is on mode 2, he says, trying to remember, you have on your left hand stick you have the throttle and the rudder. On the right hand stick you have your ailerons and your ailerons left and right, and your elevators forward and back. In mode 4, so you've got your primary turn control on the right and your secondary turn control on the left ish. On mode 4, those two turn controls are reversed, so you have throttle on one side and ailerons on the left, and you've got elevators, which is your pitch control, and your rudder on the right. And they both have their pros and cons, and as I said, the other two, mode 1 and mode 3, are reversed, the same pair but on opposite sides, just for left or right hand. And the rationale for them being the primary turn control and the primary pitch elevator control being on the same stick is that that's how it is in a real aircraft. You have a stick, you push forward to go down, pull it back to go up, left to bank left, right to bank right, whether it's a stick or a steering wheel, same thing. And your rudders, which would be on the left hand stick, is on your feet, got feet pedals, and of course your throttle is generally something in the dashboard or on the console next to you. The argument for the other way of doing it, which is mode 4, is that if you split your primary turn and your primary pitch control onto two sticks, then you've got better, finer control. If you're moving your ailerons, you're not accidentally moving your pitch at the same time, because your throttle tends to stay relatively stable and your rudder tends to stay relatively stable. So you've got, in theory, you've got two hands doing two things rather than one hand doing two things. And when you translate that to a vehicle like a car, then essentially primary turn control, whatever it is, becomes steering. There's no pitch, of course, and there's no generally speaking, no secondary turn control. But having said which, you do have things like all-wheel steering sometimes, where you will have a secondary turn control to allow the vehicle to crab rather than to turn, to crab. So you'll use two controls, or you can use two controls. Or sometimes if you're driving, well, I'm going to say a tank, but you sometimes use two throttles there. I'm trying to think of another situation where you use two controls. I can't actually think of one off turning off the top of my head, except for that all-wheel steering option as to whether you crab or turn. Although quite a lot of transmitters just have a switch to change it, but that's a different thing. And what was I thinking of about that is, what they do give you in one of these packs somewhere is what they call a gate. It's a piece of plastic that's goes over the stick on the controller and constrains it, because with a transmitter's over there, with a standard sort of joystick you can move it in these sorts of directions like that. What it does once you put a gate on it constrains it to move either in that direction or that direction. You can't do both at the same time. So the way in which they set it up for this, which is sort of the trailer, is on the right hand stick, or the stick that's doing the primary control, that's not your throttle stick. What you've got is you can steer left and right. When you want to decouple the trailer, what you have to do is stop, because you can't steer, because what you have to do is pull it back to do the decouple, to lower the legs and then finally to do the decouple. And you essentially don't want to be moving at that point, so you don't want it to steer. And whilst you are decoupled, you do pull forward, that's using the other stick, but again you don't want to steer, because this thing wants to come cleanly forward, so it uncouples cleanly, it doesn't push the trailer over. If you're using a trigger style with a wheel style or remote control, that goes out the window, and we'll find out, because that's what there's going to be when I mount it on here. But what I was just looking for there was to see if I had a parts list for this. I don't. So yes, I was looking for how to assemble this. So I'm going to need to find some parts. Yeah, I've got some more grease. I am not greasing the top plate. Actually no, I know what that grease is for. That's for the trailer legs. We won't be building those. We don't need those until I build a trailer. I do have a trailer to build. It's on the floor behind me. It's a tanker truck. So I've got I have a trailer which is a refrigerated trailer. So it's a big box wagon with a pretend refrigerator on the front. I've got a tanker trailer on the floor behind me, so I want that. Yeah, I think that's about all I want out of that bag for the moment. Those other parts I think are all, or mostly, something to do with the electrics. I can see battery contacts in there, and some are to do with the trailer legs. Okay, the other part, no, that's not. So that's going to be a plastic part. I'm going to need some. I'm going to need some screws without knowing where they are. They don't look to be in there. Not in there. Oh, these might be there. So we've got some 8mm screws. Probably, yeah, those. Okay, so they're in that bag there. And I need a part out of here. Okay. These things are good. Incidentally, these things are called shoelaces. These are metal ferrules. I know, if I remember rightly, what you do with these is one wire goes in one end and one wire goes in the other end, and you squeeze it flat. It saves you soldering. I might solder them. Solder connection is a little bit more reliable. I might put them in there as well, but so this sort of kit, if you like, has been put together so that people don't need any skills to build and skills. Wrong. You don't need any specialist tools like a soldering iron, for example, to build it. There for the trailer. No, is the spring in? Yes, it is. There are times when I wonder why they couldn't just put things all in one sort of one night. Yeah, all the things that go together like this in one bag. So I need a spring out of here, or rather I need a spring out of the bag that's in here. I mentioned the gate, as it's called. That's what that is. So that goes over the transmitter stick and sort of just presses into place, and then you're constrained for the stick to only go in those directions. Can be helpful. One of the useful things about that actually is, especially if you're not fantastically used to stick style remote controls, and that is when you're driving and you're steering with this thing here, if you pull it too far back whilst you're driving, one of the things that happens is you end up lowering the legs. And if you pull it back too far, you can actually drop the trailer off the back whilst you're driving, which is not a good idea, because the legs don't come all the way down. Well, they will actually go all the way down, so it will eventually sort of sit itself back up, because these are strong enough to lift the whole trailer. But it's not something you want to do. It tends to make a mess out of the legs. They get scraped and all sorts. Now I don't want to lose these springs out of here, because I will need them when I get to doing the trailer. In the meantime, I will get frustrated with this. It's not a paper clip, it's a staple. That wouldn't come out of plastic. So, one spring. I know I'll need the other one in a little while, but as before, I'm putting stuff back so I know where it is. We'll have to get some push rod stuff out in a moment, but let's put this together first. So I want one of these. Yeah, I'm fairly sure that's right. I don't have any to scale drawings here, so we'll just have to hope that it is correct. So this will go through that hole and through some plastic which I haven't got out yet. More staples. And it's that tree, I believe. Part B, yes. Part 5, which is going to be that one, it is. I don't want to mix those up, I'll put that over there. So this part, we have to get the right way. Well, we kind of do, yes. I was about to say I don't really have to get the right way. I do, because if I put it on the wrong way around, it won't go in too well. Now then, thread lock again. Okay. For the same reason you don't particularly want the trailer to disconnect, you don't want this. You don't want the screw dropping out because it'll disconnect your trailer. Now then I can, you think, and I'll find out in a moment, but I can tighten that down. Yep, because that is loose. It's, this piece is long enough to go all the way through with a little tiny gap, so that when you tighten it down, as I just did, you get a metal to metal joint, and that's loose. So I now want another screw, which I forgot to get out, but I don't know if it's in this pack. So it's a 2x5mm. Which isn't in there. It doesn't look to be in there. Two by 5mm screw. I'm guessing it must be that one then, so that's one of these little tiny ones here. Okay. There's a list of parts here on the plastic. It doesn't exactly tell me that's the right one. I guess I could look through and see if there's any other 2x5mm screws. If there were, then I'd have a problem, but it looks like this is the only one. Now when you put in a screw, this is a spring, and I'm going to tighten this screw, put the spring on there and tighten this screw over it, which should hold the spring in place. Now one of the things with the spring is you essentially it's curled round. I don't know if you can see here, if it will focus, it might not, but essentially there's a gap here, so the spring is a wire that comes out and bends clockwise as you're looking at it there. Now when you put a screw through, you can either put it through that way top down, or turn this over so the gap's at this end and put it down this way. The way you do it is if you want the wire to go clockwise when you put the screw through it. So as you tighten the screw down, what you'll tend to do is to pull that clockwise turning wire in tighter. If you put it the other way around, as you tighten the screw down, the wire will tend to unwind, if you like, get larger, and the screw will go straight through. So you always try, when you're putting the screw through a spring end like that, to do it so that the spring goes clockwise, the same direction as you're tightening down the spring. You go over the top.